at the Bhaktivedanta Research Center as a Dean Development and Administration. Today we are very happy to welcome you to this session where we are discussing about how do we preserve the today we are here at this session, we are discussing about how do we preserve the legacy of Gaudiya Vaishnava literary heritage for the next 10,000 years. We are very fortunate here to have with us His Grace Sauri Prabhu, who is the co-founder of the Bhaktivedanta Research Center, started in 2009. Sauri Prabhu doesn't need any introduction, has been a personal servant of Srila Prabhupada himself for many years and has been involved with many projects as part of our movement. But one of the primary projects which Prabhu did start was in 2009, the Bhaktivedanta Research Center. And today also we are fortunate to have with us Premanjana Prabhu. Premanjana Prabhu has been the principal of the Bhaktivedanta National School in Sridham, Mayapur, and also is a PhD himself from Jadavpur, from the prestigious Jadavpur University. And he has been also part of the Bhaktivedanta Institute and involved with various research works himself. And we also have Antadvip Prabhu, who is the head of Mayapur TV here in Sridham, Mayapur. So, again, I welcome everybody here today, and let's start off this session. I will request Premanjana Prabhu if you would like to kick it off, and let's start the discussion about the preserving our heritage for the next 10,000 years.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada predicted that this ISKCON movement, Hare Krishna movement, will continue for next 10,000 years. And it is very much required to preserve our Vaishnava literatures because previously, before the invention of printing machine, people, Vaishnava poets and authors, they would write on palm leaves, or maximum books are written on palm leaves, and what else, Prabhu?
Handmade paper.
Yeah. So it was very difficult to preserve those books. Many of those books are lost, and some of the books are faded. But it is very much important to preserve those books. So I would like to ask His Grace Sauri Prabhu that you have taken a very important initiative. But I would like to know that what are the challenges that you are facing to preserve those literatures which were, before the invention of printing machine, they were written on palm leaves, etc. So what are the challenges you are facing to preserve those writings?
Well, in our research over the last 10 or 12 years, when we started up the BRC, Bhaktivedanta Research Center, we originally started off with the idea of creating a library which would be an academic resource for people to understand what Krishna consciousness is all about. We had a meeting with Srila Prabhupada in 1976. He had just come back from the West. He was in Bombay. Juhu Beach Temple was just coming up. And Prabhupada called for Giriraj and Das Brahmachari at that time, who was the temple president, and also Nitai Das, who was one of Prabhupada's Sanskrit editors. So they discussed about the creation of a library, which would be a resource so that scholars could come and study all the different aspects of education, economics, sociology, all the humanities in one sense. And Prabhupada asked them to begin the library. So he gave some brief instructions that it should be composed of all of his books. It should have all the works of the acharyas, that means the bona fide acharyas, and his idea, he said, was that scholars can come to Bombay, they can utilize the library, understand the philosophy, and become devotees. So he was himself aware of the need for a good educational system up to a high level. You see Prabhupada's writings right from the very beginning were aimed at the scholarly class of man. And Prabhupada wanted to have a facility where all the aspects of Krishna consciousness could be availed. So they were a bit slow off the mark. They opened the temple, but they didn't have the library. And so that was 1976. It wasn't till 2008 that we got some opportunity to establish the BRC. I had met with Ravindra Swarup Prabhu, who at that time was he was charged with creating this academic faculty, and he asked me if I could, since I was living in Mayapur, he asked me if I could help to get some space in the new temple where we could have, such a library. He himself actually in 1975 had been requested by Srila Prabhupada to look into getting an affiliation with the Calcutta University, and also I think on the Delhi side as well. So it was something that Prabhupada understood very clearly, that you have to, because we do mass book distribution, but we also have to cultivate, people who are recognized academically. Otherwise, nobody will listen to you. So he suggested that we use this similar kind of titles for
bachelor's, masters. PhD.
Forgetting a Doctor of Divinity. That's
Doctor of Divinity.
And so he looked into it. He asked me if I could find some space for it. By higher arrangement, we got a 5-story building that had been donated to ISKCON. It wasn't being utilized. So with some help of the Mayapur Vrindavan Trust, the MVT, and also other sources, we began to convert this building into a first-class academic environment. So we opened officially in 2009. After a couple of years, I started to realize that we need to look into the sources of academic study in Calcutta initially, but then we wanted to spread afield and look and see what we could find in the local university libraries, in the regular public libraries, in private collections. So we did turn a lot of our resources into looking and seeing what was there in these various collections. And it's actually pretty staggering when you see the figures, something like 10 million
Manuscripts across India.
estimated in India. And the Indian government also, a few years back, they had set up
National Manuscripts Mission, yeah.
And we had some contact with them also. They were encouraging us. But one of the problems is that although they were successful in locating a lot of these works, unfortunately, they weren't nearly as efficient in preserving them, scanning them, etc. So we took it up as a bit of a challenge.
Right.
We wanted to see what was available, and huge amounts of material, mainly handwritten on tree bark, palm leaves. What else?
Handmade paper.
Handmade papers of different varieties. So we felt that the best way to preserve them it would be to do it electronically. You can get huge amounts of information without having all the bulk.
Yeah.
So we got a first-class scanner, and just as an example of what we were looking at, there was an original library in one of the Gaudiya temples in Calcutta. The gentleman that was the custodian of that library, he had long since gone on his way. But what's the track?
You're talking about the one particular place you went, this particular gentleman who had a good collection of some kind.
Yeah.
As part of the manuscripts mission, you were talking about one particular place that you went. Yeah.
Right. The Gaudiya mat under Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Prabhupada, they were prolific in writing and printing and distributing that literature. And one example of that is that from 1927 to 1947, there was a magazine.
Nadia Prakash.
Called it was actually a daily newspaper. So that was being produced for 20 years, every day, about an 8-page not pamphlets, it's like a short newspaper. So when we started the scanning program, we thought we'll do that one first. And it took us 11 months to strip them down.
Yeah, we're showing on the screen there. Yeah. We scanned them.
Debug them. There's a lot of damage from insects, etc.
Right.
So the Nadia Prakash, we ended up with 40,000 scanned images.
Images.
And likewise, we did, there was a whole collection, about 3,000 works, which we digitized. And
Birnagar also. Birnagar also. Birnagar. In Birnagar,
Yeah.
you did some. Yeah.
So anyway, the idea was that we could create a faculty where anybody could come, not just ISKCON devotees, but with the general public, scholars, students, etc. So over the last few years, we've been pushing that program, manuscript program. Unfortunately, of course, we don't have a lot of resources. We only have one team at the moment that's working on that. But it can be expanded again. But we did visit a lot of public library facilities, and we were aware that there's quite a few families that have manuscripts that they've preserved in their own private libraries.
Right.
By gradually making friends with a lot of these people,
Right.
we were able to retrieve their collections, just like at Birnagar, which is the birthplace of
Yeah.
Bhaktivedanta Thakur. There was a couple of hundred, I think, manuscripts, and they were just sitting there. Nobody was doing anything, and literally they were rotting
Right.
in our hands. So when they saw the facilities that we'd created, they were very enthusiastic. They gave us access to their library collections. We cleaned them up, we debugged them, and then we laminated all the original sheets, and then after putting new binding on, then we gave those, we had gotten our copies, and we give the originals back to the owners. So,
You gave them back laminated to the owners?
yes.
Oh, so that...
Once the whole
Yeah.
process of, well, indexing was the next big thing. That was something that we've still got to activate. But like with the Nadia Prakash, the 40,000 images that we have, or pages that we have, it's all written in Bengali.
Right.
We don't have
It's still in Bengali, basically.
This is the problem.
You mean these books are not translated?
They are basically
Right.
not translated yet.
Indexing.
They are not indexed. Yes,
They need
indexed.
to be
Yes.
indexed, because
Yes.
what's the use of having 40,000
Yes.
pages of work that nobody can read?
Yeah. So now we are working with the Oxford Center for Hindu Studies and Jadavpur University to index and to put all these things online.
Well, so anyway, the program has given us a lot of links
Yeah.
with academic faculties. We have affiliated officially with Bombay, Pune,
Yeah.
and other places are coming up.
Yes.
Calcutta, we hope. It's a beginning,
Right.
but you can understand from the amount of materials that there are it's going to take a long time to get that all electronically scanned and to keep the originals in good shape and order.
My question was, when you got the moth-eaten ones that you just were talking about, you treated and you laminated and gave them back, what was the content of the actual ancient scroll? What was the content of it about?
Well, a lot of the stuff that we collected, I mean, there's millions of manuscripts, but not obviously very few of them by percentage. Most of them are just like mundane materials. You're not just getting Gaudiya Vaishnava, Vaishnava literatures, but there's all, lots of mundane stuff, land documents, ownerships, legal stuff, important documents that will be preserved on the manuscripts. And
we are showing here some of the Vaishnava manuscripts, Gaudiya Vaishnava manuscripts that we collected also.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I can't read that from here,
Yeah.
but anyway, we've been working hard. We've had a bit of a slowdown the last couple of years, but we're hoping that will be.
But there were many very Gaudiya Vaishnava manuscripts. For example, there were many copies of, let's say, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Ujjwal Nilamani, here it's saying Alankar Kaustubh, Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Many different versions of manuscripts of these Gaudiya Vaishnava books have been collected, and they were then utilized by various scholars. And for example, the BBT utilizing the versions of Jaiva Dharma, which we have collected. And so that BBT is utilizing them to create the final edition, critical edition for the Jaiva Dharma, which they are going to publish. So
Of Jaiva Dharma?
if you see here, the Kishore Das from BBT, he has been working on developing the Jaiva Dharma for BBT. So we have provided various manuscripts.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote that.
Jaiva Dharma,
So
yes.
surely the original is just whatever he published.
Well, that's the thing. There are different versions, and they have to be analyzed analytically, very deeply. Then you come up with what was truly closest to what Bhaktivinoda Thakur would have written. That's what is called as a critical edition at the end. Otherwise, you never know what was the real thing at the start. So that's why if you can see here, we are saying that how various, we have given him various editions, Jaiva Dharma editions, many different editions of Jaiva Dharma were provided by BRC to them, which will help them analyze them and then come up with the final version. Same thing with the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Hari Bhakti Vilas currently doesn't have a proper critical edition. So one of the professors, Dr. Mansbrew in Finland, Bhragupad Prabhu, he's been studying over 100 plus editions of manuscripts of Hari Bhakti Vilas to come up with 100 different versions. He's analyzing, critically researching them. He's a professor in Finland to finally come up with the critical edition for Hari Bhakti Vilas. And BRC actually has been helping him also to get manuscripts of Hari Bhakti Vilas.
Those manuscripts would have been copied by hand or printed?
Copied by hand, many of them.
Okay.
And some may have been printed also, but many copied by hand. So we worked with Asiatic Society of Bengal. I'll show you here this. We worked with the Bhaktivedanta Research Center, essentially worked with the Asiatic Society in Kolkata to get specific manuscripts of Hari Bhakti Vilas, which Dr. Mansbrew wanted in Finland to be able to do this work. And here is that specific, here is thanking BRC, and here is a specific manuscript which we got for him. So now you're seeing the connection between what Hariswari Prabhu started more than 12 years ago with a team of people going to the remote villages, collecting various different manuscripts, and now that goes into the hands of all of these researchers and scholars and all of them, including the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, to come up with the right edition of these very important books of the Parampara. That's what we are referring to, that this work of collecting and preserving and then connecting it to the academia, to the latest and greatest researchers today, the top universities today, fills this gap so that these books are now there for a long time to come, to be regarded as serious works which have been thoroughly, deeply studied, researched, and we can stand the test of time and stand the test of questions by scholars about how did you come up with these. Like even Prabhupada said, I'm only repeating the words of my spiritual master. So we have to go back to what Prabhupada is referring to and make sure that those books are being, researched, studied, and we come up with the right versions of them. So that's how the whole thing connects at the BRC, collecting and preserving all these manuscripts and then connecting with the universities and the scholars to do the deep research and the PhDs and the masters, etc., which Prabhupada wanted all over the world, and also especially in Mayapur University.
Yeah,
makes sense.
One part of the project will be to create a faculty for studying, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto,
Yes.
Vedic cosmology.
Yeah.
So that's another aspect of what the BRC is doing. Will be when it's ready to receive them. The Temple of the Vedic Planetarium will have some facility there for scholars and students to come and see the
Actually see how the cosmology is being, actually being taught in the Bhagavad. Deeply.
We're going to have a whole series of exhibits,
Right.
dolls, dioramas, multimedia, that will kind of help to bring the project to life. But it's not just like a tourist attraction. We want it to be a working
Right.
facility.
Right.
Sometimes you see in the West they have some public viewing of the work that they're doing. So they got, say like archaeology. So they get a few items.
Right.
They're working on that. The public can go around, watch them doing their work. With our facility, we would like to provide some kind of place where scholars can come, they can study the materials, and we want to get to this goal of reanimating the traditional literatures and preaching. At one point, about 80% of West Bengal, not West Bengal, Bengal as a whole, at one point there was about 80% of the culture of Bengal was Gaudiya Vaishnava.
Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Yeah.
So, because in the last couple of 100 years, there's been a few Western-based scholars. They came here and did a lot of mischief in wrongly translating the literatures, in changing the whole culture from what was as Gaudiya Vaishnava to, we can say, Christian, although they're not the only ones, but a Christian orientation. Things like about 150 years ago, the educational system in Bengal was overtaken by the Western scholars.
Yes.
And one of the first things they did was to ban teaching
Right.
Sanskrit language.
Yes.
Before that, Sanskrit was the lingua franca for all academic, as well as ordinary,
Yes.
especially the academic. So once you separate a class of people from their origins,
Yes.
then you can change
Everything.
everything around. So by diminishing the influence of Sanskrit and bringing in the English language, then you can control the population, exploit it for whatever you want. So manuscripts, there are many manuscripts pre-British occupation, where, as you're saying, you got these Hari Bhaktivilas,
Yeah.
different issues. So we want to go back. We have some manuscripts that go back to the 1800s,
Yeah.
but we would like to dig down and find out, the provenance, what's in these literatures, where they came from, like that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Did you ever come up with any scripture that nobody had actually, people thought it was lost, but actually you found a manuscript and it was a writing of one of the Goswamis or something. Have you ever come across anything like that?
No. Not
A
yet.
specific one that we can say like that. Not something that was completely lost, but definitely, as I said, different versions which were extremely valuable for scholars.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the Jayavadharma example that I said.
That's right.
But so those, but not something that I can remember which was a specific book that was completely lost that was found.
Have we got all of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writings, or some still missing?
Even Bhaktivinoda Thakur, some are still missing. Even Bhaktivinoda Thakur, some writings are. So if I show you the Gaudiya, even in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, we think that Gaudiya Vaishnavism, many of the books would be available, but actually in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, about 700 books have been listed that exist in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and out of that, about 45% of them are actually lost. 45% of the Gaudiya Vaishnava, and some of them are Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books himself, which are still not traceable. So it's and only less than 20% of them are actually which are even translated now. So that's the very even Gaudiya Vaishnava, the situation. I'll just share this one, because we had talked about that in India there are about 10 million manuscripts as per the National Manuscripts Mission, and only 3.3% of them have even been digitized. 96.7% on the verge of extinction. So that's the pathetic state which Sauri Prabhu was referring to. But even if you show the Gaudiya Vaishnava literature, more than 45% have been endangered or extinct, and less than 20% have been translated, actually. And this includes many of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books, which are they still are extinct or not been translated. So you can see this. We have tracked these. So about 316 out of the known 700 books are lost, never printed or out of print. 238 have been discovered, but only available in Bengali, and 142, which we call as green, are available in English, which is less than 20%. So we are tracking all of this, all that. So there is so much to be done in terms of just, first of all, preserving and then making it available to the world. Imagine just 1 out of 5 is available. and close to half have been lost. So the amount of work that needs to be done to first just collect and preserve these things is enormous.
Yeah.
Then we talk about how do we, actually deeply research them and study them. And so this is what Prabhupada's books stand on. And Prabhupada, if we have to establish that, the authority of Prabhupada's books for a long, long time to come, we have to also be researching and studying these books. That's what we hear from all the, the current senior leaders also. So that work, a lot has to be done in that area to actually collect, preserve, and study these books, which are the basis of the Gaudiya Vaishnava literary heritage. That's where I think BRC, as a temple of scriptures or as a Shastra Mandir, is dedicated to do this worship of the scriptures. And we are calling out to all the devotees and to the society at large, actually, to come forward so that we can do whatever, because they are dying right in front of our eyes, frankly.
I don't think anybody else is doing this work.
Nobody else is doing it.
And it just means that in another 10 years, if you weren't doing it, we'd have even less.
Much less. In fact, I was talking to Shaunak Rishi Prabhu, who is the founder of the Oxford Center for Hindu Studies, and he said within 10 years, most of these manuscripts will be gone. And he has a lot of experience in this area, within 10 years. When I was talking to His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, he said this manuscript preservation work should have started 100 years ago, at least, very seriously. So, we talk about extinct species, these are really getting extinct species here.
Well, a lot of the manuscripts were made redundant with the popularity of the printing press.
Yeah.
Most people could print books out instead of having somebody sitting and copying by hand. Then there was, that was probably one of the major factors in why manuscripts, their importance has been diminished because of the electronic age, if you like, mechanical age, with printing presses, and now we have digital storage. So the tendency is then that the old original works get pushed away. But as you say, there's so many that are just waiting to be discovered. And it's important that we do that because we want to get right back to the original, the authentic source.
The authentic source of it.
Yes.
Prabhupada also wanted to establish Mayapur University, so that BRC, if it can be made a part of Mayapur University, then I think it will become stronger and more practical to preserve and to research on those manuscripts. So, what do you think to make BRC as part of Mayapur University?
Yes, we want to orientate the temple of the Vedic planetarium. The planetarium side of it is science. The temple, of course, is the theological side of things. So we have actually the Mayapur management made available about 26 acres of land in Mayapur for building this, like a Mayapur University. So that's definitely on the cards, but costs a lot of money.
Yeah, we were referring to this letter by Ambarish Prabhu in that regard. He was saying, quoting Prabhupada also, that the Temple of Vedic Planetarium and the Mayapur University are really the core of the Mayapur project.
Well, right? Also, if you look at the history of a lot of libraries in India and other places, they flourished once they got the backing and support of either the government or previously there were Maharajas, they had the kingdoms and whatever. So if there was once they got officially connected, then there would be plenty of money coming in to develop the whole educational system, wherever it may be. So we want to somehow or another attract the government, even just wealthy patrons like Alfred Brushford, Amarish Prabhu, he's involved, and many others. We want to provide the facilities for people to come in. As Prabhupada said, let the learned scholars come and study it and become devotees. So that's one of our main aims.
So do you think that these Vaishnava literatures, can be introduced to government colleges and government universities for subject of research work, so that also with the help of government universities and colleges, many students can get PhD on researching on this Vaishnava heritage, Vaishnava literatures.
Yes.
Prabhupada was not so much fond of formal education, but what do you think? Do you think the need to introduce our Vaishnava literatures to be accepted by government universities and colleges, so that students can get some PhD degree like?
Yes. Well, this is the next major step in developing the BRC. We've got at least the physical construction. Right now we have a small building. Later on we'll probably move that to Mayapur
University.
But we want to have a proper faculty dedicated to this study of different aspects of Varnashram, give people a chance to see how the Varnashram system permeated the whole human culture, and show people how to utilize that knowledge to bring back the old traditional natural systems. One of the big problems with human civilization right now, as it's just coming out, is the misuse of natural resources based on greed, based on an atheistic view of nature. So one of Prabhupada's ambitions was to provide materials so that scholars can study them and understand what real human culture is based on. It's very important. We don't need plastic. I just was looking at a report that there are gigantic currents of water in the oceans, the big oceans, and in different places, because of the movement of the currents, the plastic garbage is gathering in large clumps, literally miles wide, and they don't know what to do with it. And the breakdown of the granules of plastic, it means that now they're finding deep sea fish with plastic in their systems.
Right.
That's one example. Or similarly with landfills. So the damage that's been caused by moving away from natural systems of management of the earth. If we can produce some incredible alternatives and develop, a new, or rather a revived edition of the Varnashram system. So that's one thing that people can come to the university and study.
Right.
Social systems, social structures, and what's needed to bring us back to a system which, self-replicates. Nature is already doing that. We've interfered with it and then spoiled the whole lot. But people, even if they recognize that the damage that's there, they don't know what the alternative is. They don't know what to redirect their energies and resources towards. So that's like one aspect that we would like to encourage people to study and implement.
Yeah. So this is definitely, I think the idea is that, but we have the idea that Prabhupada was not in favor of formal education. We see here that Prabhupada is specifically calling out in many cases actually here. If I share here, you will see this screen how Prabhupada is specifically calling out. If you that can show the screen. So here you can see, or maybe we can even play this. Is saying that how we need to be able to we can
Theological union.
cannot be heard right now, but we can see when the devotees are saying that we can get a degree recognized with the state of California. Prabhupada said yes, that I won't do it. We want to give degrees, at least BA, MA and PhD, according to the advancement of knowledge. And Prabhupada was wanting to affiliate also with Graduate Theological Union, Berkeley, as you can see here. So this is, and he is also talking about Mayapur University, and not just affiliate to university in Mayapur, but to affiliate temples across the world to the universities nearby. So there was this idea, Prabhupada had already mentioned long time back, that we need to connect with the universities. And here Prabhupada's letter to Giriraj in July 10, 1969, where he's writing to Giriraj Das at that time that you should take your postgraduate studies in divinity by comparative study and make a thorough study of all theological schools. So as Harisari Prabhu is pointing out, that the idea was there from the start that some people, not all people, but some people would take up this study, or wanted this study to be happening in the academia also. And it could be covering different fields, theology, philosophy, but also environment, as is pointing out, or it could be management, ethics, leadership, relationships, etc. All of this based on Vedic wisdom could be studied not just in the temple, but also in the academia. So once that gets established, academia is what people are really respecting in the world today in terms of education. So that also should be there. And Prabhupada is as early as 1969 instructing some, devotees to do that. So this is the second part of BRC, as Hariswari Prabhu pointed out, collecting and preserving the scriptures, but then researching and teaching these things in the academia. So right now we are having PhD programs and master's programs, because we are officially affiliated as a research center to Mumbai University, then to Pune University, and we also have branches in Kolkata, Jagannath Puri, Vrindavan. So we'll be affiliating to more universities. But right now they're very handful, hardly any. There are centers across the world, frankly, which are currently affiliated to university, because Prabhupada wanted that. So there's a desire which has been left unfulfilled. So doing that, and then doing research projects with the research scholars. About 20 research projects are currently going on in the Bhaktivedanta Research Center, including with the Oxford Center for Hindu Studies, which is the #1 such institute in the world. And then with Stockholm University, with American universities, Indian universities, so that which includes various aspects. Like we have a project on architecture of Madan Mohan Temple. So how was it done under the Islamic rule, under Emperor Akbar? How did it happen in Jaipur and then Karauli and then Govardhaniko village now? So that is being done by a devotee who has an experience in architecture. Then we have a project on philosophical counseling, which is how to do philosophical counseling based on Srimad Bhagavatam. So counseling based on Srimad Bhagavatam. So then we have projects on, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's personal diary being published, his biography being published, Ultadanga Junction, there's a book which we are coming up with that. We are translating also a book which is written by Rupa Goswami on how to do the Abhishek of Lord Krishna during Janmashtami, Shri Krishna Abhishek. That book was never properly, formally translated. So we're translating that. So various different, then we are coming up with books on cosmology, as Hariswari Prabhu was talking about. So Prem Gauranga Prabhu, who is one of the leads in the TOVP, is doing some research work on that. So various different aspects of, of the Varnashram Dharma, or various different aspects of knowledge systems which are there, but to study all of them from the ancient wisdom, but to do that with the universities across the world is what we are essentially trying to look for. And this is in line with where we were just showing this Thakur Bhaktivedanta Research Institute was formed by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur himself in, more than 100 years ago. And that building still exists in Mayapur, but now it's just a school. And he was listing there, this is the, what you see on the screen here, is the actual form where he's listing the members of Thakur Bhaktivedanta Research Institute with their academic degrees, BA, MA, etc. So this aspect of research was right in the, in the vision, in the mind of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Prabhupada himself, more than 100 years ago. Somehow that we have not really, as Hariswari Prabhu was saying, or Ravindra Swarup Prabhu has also been saying, others, not really taken it up that level. And so that's the mission of BRC, to do it now globally. Right? That makes sense. Yeah.
Recently I visited Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's house, and there they showed me one manuscript, some few pages, not many, manuscript of original Chaitanya Charitamrita. But I also came to know that there is original Chaitanya Charitamrita in Vrindavan also. So I am a little confused whether, the copy they showed me, whether it is original Chaitanya Charitamrita or not. So how do you verify all these things?
This is one of the titles. This is a good example of the importance of tracing out the origins of these manuscripts. Because there's, I think in Bengal, there's one place where they have a certain section of the original Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhu's mentioned Vrindavan. We had the opportunity of going through all of their materials in the Vrindavan Research Institute. I think last year, some of our devotees were given access, and there's scores of original literature that's not ever been published from the six Goswamis. So if we can, I think the other thing is that we want to approach this, as Prabhupada said, this is not religion.
Yes.
What we want to do is to present that this is knowledge.
Knowledge. Yeah.
Yes. So we don't want to be, branded or classified as some kind of small cult.
Yes.
Or a religion. But the idea is to show that this is genuine knowledge.
Right.
It has practical applications. And people should be given the opportunity to develop their social structures based on genuine understanding of what nature is, how it works, how human beings fit in with it. So it's very important. We don't have any I mean, you have so many departments in modern universities for studying all various aspects of human society and how it's worked or how it develops. So we want to get in there and get recognition for the Vedic system. Yeah. Otherwise, the Vedas has become redundant in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The Western scholars especially have led everybody down, down the garden path, as they say. So we want to give people the opportunity to get genuine knowledge.
Yeah. Right. Thank you very much for sharing all this divine wisdom, Sauri Prabhu and Rimanjan Prabhu and Antardeep Prabhu. I think it was a very enlightening discussion, and this is, I think, just a first of many others we may hold in the future to discuss about the critical importance of preserving our Shastras, and then really trying to go deeper within the academia and in the society at large as to how this knowledge can be applied very deeply in the current scenarios in all varieties of fields, and really can enrich people's lives now in this world and also help them achieve the ultimate destination of the ultimate goal of the human mission. All of this is available in the knowledge, and really the purpose of this discussion and the purpose of the Bhaktivedanta Research Center itself is to really have an institute that can deeply focus on this one aspect of collecting, preserving, and then researching and teaching this in the latest and greatest ways within the temples and in the worldwide academia. So we look forward to more of these things to share with the people, and very grateful to everybody for joining us here today. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.